What if I told you the most powerful version of you is waiting in the silence, before the world wakes up? What if I told you that everything you're chasing, discipline, clarity, grit, success, it's not lost, it's not hiding, it's just sleeping. And the only way to catch it on is to wake up before it does. You want to become unstoppable, then start before anyone even begins. The 4 a.m. mindset isn't about the clock. It's not about being a morning person. It's about separating yourself from the noise, the excuses, the laziness, and the world that hits snooze on its own potential every single day. While they sleep, you train. While they dream, you build. And while they wait for motivation, you create it. At 4 a.m., there are no likes, no comments, no notifications, no one watching. It's just you and your will. That's where the real you is built. In that stillness, in that raw darkness. It's not glamorous. No one's clapping. But this is where your resilience is born. This is where the warrior sharpens the blade. Because when you train in the dark, you don't just shine in the light, you own it. You see, people want success, but they want it convenient. They want greatness without the grind. They want power without the pain. That's why 4 a.m. is the filter, the separator. It tells the world who's willing to bleed for it, and who's just talking. And if you're serious about becoming the strongest version of yourself, you stop negotiating with your comfort. You stop sleeping through your greatness. You start waking up to it. You ever notice how loud the world is? It's constant. Notifications buzzing, people pulling at your attention, expectations being thrown at you from every direction. And most people, they live in that noise. They wake up and immediately react. They check their phones before they even breathe. They're already behind before the day has even begun. But 4 a.m., that's when the silence hits different. That silence, it's not empty, it's full of potential, full of space, full of clarity. That's where real strength is forged. Because when you strip away the world's noise, you finally hear your own voice. Not the fear, not the doubt, just you. Raw, clear, intentional. That's where the strongest people begin their day. In stillness, not in chaos. They use the silence like a weapon. While the world sleeps, they listen to their thoughts, their plans, their instincts. They don't scroll, they reflect. They don't react, they strategize. That's how you stay grounded when life tries to shake you. Because once you've trained your mind in silence, there's nothing loud enough out there that can throw you off in here. You don't build inner power in the noise. You build it in the quiet, when nobody's watching and you still show up for yourself anyway. That's not motivation, that's self-respect. That's power. Most people wait until they feel like doing something. They think motivation is supposed to wake them up, push them, carry them through. But the truth is, motivation is a liar. It's unreliable. It comes and goes. You know what doesn't? Discipline. Discipline is what gets you up at 4 a.m. when the bed feels warm, your body is aching, and every part of you is screaming to stay down. That's the moment that separates the unstoppable from the average. Because anyone can show up when it's easy. But who are you when it's not? Discipline isn't about being in the mood. It's about having a code, a standard. It's about doing what needs to be done. Not because it feels good, but because you said you would. You stop asking how you feel and start asking what you committed to. And when you live that way, every early wake up becomes a battle you win. Every time you override your comfort, you reinforce that you're in control, not your feelings, not your fatigue. That's what builds real confidence. Not fluff, not hype, follow through. And that's the difference between someone who lives by excuses and someone who lives by purpose. One waits to be pushed. The other pushes themselves. You know what makes you dangerous? When you're already moving while everyone else is still trying to wake up. That's what the 4 a.m. mindset gives you. A head start that no one can see but everyone will feel. Because by the time the rest of the world is rolling out of bed, you've already trained your body, locked in your focus, and set the tone for your entire day. You're not reacting, you're executing. And that gap, that silent lead you give yourself, it stacks. Day after day, it becomes a habit. That habit becomes your identity. And suddenly, you're not just ahead, you're unreachable. See, most people wait for life to begin. They wait for their alarm, for their coffee, for their circumstances to be right. But the ones who win, they don't wait. They decide. They act. They move while everyone else delays. That's what power looks like. Not in noise, but in readiness. You're sharp when others are groggy. You're focused when others are scattered. And that edge, that early, deliberate effort, it's what makes you unstoppable. Because you're not chasing anyone. You're not playing catch up. You're already leading, before they even realize the game has started. Most people never meet the real version of themselves because they're too distracted, too busy chasing approval, too afraid of what they'll see in the quiet. But when you wake up at 4 a.m., there's nowhere to hide, no audience, no applause. Just you and that mirror, and that's where self-mastery begins. In that raw space where you're stripped of the noise, the ego, the performance. You can't fake strength at 4 a.m., you either have it, or you build it. And the ones who commit to that hour, day after day, aren't just training their bodies, they're training their character. That's when you confront the real work, the mental work, the emotional discipline. Because it's not about how fast you move when you're being watched. It's about how honest you are when you're alone. That early hour tests your integrity. Will you keep the promises you made to yourself? Will you show up when no one's clapping, no one's validating, no one's even aware? That's what defines your strength. Not how loud you talk, but how consistent you are in the dark. That's where power is built, quietly, relentlessly. And by the time the world sees you, you've already done the work that no one's willing to do. You want to know who's serious? Look at who's willing to suffer in silence. That's what 4 a.m. does. It filters out the pretenders. Everyone talks about goals, about leveling up, about wanting more out of life. But talk is cheap. Discipline has a cost, and most people won't pay it. That's why the 4 a.m. hour is sacred, because only a few show up. It's not trendy, it's not easy, it's lonely. And that's the point. That's where you find out who's really about it. You don't stumble into greatness. You earn it. When you're exhausted, when no one's looking, when there's no comfort, just commitment. And when you rise while the rest of the world sleeps, you've already made a choice to live differently. You're saying, I don't follow the crowd, I outwork it. That mindset becomes a force. It doesn't just separate you from the average, it eliminates the average from your identity. Because every time you choose the hard thing, every time you move when no one expects it, you're proving to yourself that you don't need motivation, you don't need a witness, you need a reason. And your reason is bigger than your comfort. Confidence isn't built by what you say, it's built by what you do when no one's watching. You don't wake up one day and suddenly feel confident. You become confident by showing up for yourself, especially when it's inconvenient, when it's uncomfortable, when every part of you wants to quit and you get up anyway. That 4 a.m. alarm doesn't just wake you up, it challenges you. It dares you to prove that your word means more than your feelings. And when you rise and follow through, you start to trust yourself. That trust, that's where real confidence lives. Because confidence isn't noise. It's not a post. It's not a performance. It's quiet. It's earned. And it shows up in how you carry yourself when things get hard. When you've trained in the dark, you don't second-guess yourself in the light. You've already done the work no one else was willing to do. You've already kept the promises when no one was there to hold you accountable. That's not arrogance, that's ownership. Confidence is knowing that you can rely on yourself, over and over again, because you've built that reputation with the person in the mirror. And that happens one early morning at a time, while the rest of the world is still curled under their blankets, caught in the warmth of sleep and the comfort of dreams. You rise. Not because it's easy, not because it's fun, but because you made a decision to be different, to be disciplined, to build something inside yourself that most people will never even attempt. You train while they sleep because you understand something most don't. The hardest work is the work no one sees. It's done in silence, in solitude, in sacrifice, and it's done long before the spotlight ever hits. At 4 a.m., there's no applause. There's no recognition. There's no one around to admire your grind. It's just you, your mission, and your mindset. And that's exactly why it matters. Because this is where warriors are made. This is where the uncommon rise. Every drop of sweat, every step on that treadmill, every word you write, every goal you chip away at, it counts, it stacks. And while the world is still dreaming about success, you're out there becoming it. It's not just physical training. it's mental warfare. Because the biggest enemy you'll ever face is the voice inside your own head. The one that whispers, "Stay in bed. You can skip just this once. No one will know. But you know." And when you silence that voice and stand up anyway, that's when the shift happens. That's when you stop waiting for discipline and start embodying it. That's when you realize that you don't need someone else to push you, motivate you, or watch you. You watch yourself. You hold yourself to a higher standard because you're not training for now. You're training for what's coming. And what's coming is pressure. Life. Life is going to hit you in ways you never saw coming. It's going to test you, betray you, break you if you let it. But when you've been training in the dark, building resilience when no one's around, you don't shatter, you stand. You don't flinch, you fight. You've already gone to war with yourself, and you won. So nothing outside of you can break what you've built within. You see, most people want to rise when it's convenient. They want results without routine. They want success without structure. They want to skip the pain and still be powerful. But the ones who rise at 4 a.m., they understand that nothing great is given. It's earned, minute by minute, rep by rep, moment by moment. And they earn it when no one's looking. They earn it when the world is asleep. Because the difference between average and elite isn't talent. It's timing. It's doing what others won't, when others don't, because that's where the edge lives. That's where the gap is created. Every early morning you show up, you're widening that gap. You're pulling ahead, not just in performance, but in mindset. You're sharpening your instincts. You're proving to yourself, over and over again, that you don't need ideal conditions to win. You can build in the rain. You can train in the dark. You can rise while the rest wait for motivation to knock. You're not one of them. You're not chasing comfort. You're crushing it. Think about it. While they're still in bed dreaming about changing their life, you're up changing it. While they're resting, you're building. While they're planning, you're executing. You're making deposits into your future that they haven't even thought of yet. And when the time comes, when the pressure's on, when it's game day, when everything's on the line, you won't panic. You'll perform. Because you've already done the hard part. You've already put in the unseen hours. And that's what gives you the edge. That's what makes you relentless. You don't wait for the world to see your effort. You show up because you made a promise to yourself. That's integrity. That's self-respect. That's real power. And the beauty of it, you don't need permission. You don't need approval. You just need a decision. A clear, non-negotiable decision that you will not live average. You will not operate like the rest. You will wake up, move, grind, fight, before they even blink. Because that's what it takes. That's what it costs to be exceptional, and you're willing to pay it. Every single morning. This isn't about perfection. It's not about some fake aesthetic of hustling for the sake of a social media post. It's about living by a standard you refuse to lower. It's about knowing your worth and showing up for it. Every time you rise before the sun, you're reinforcing that standard. You're building a track record with yourself that says, "I don't back down. I don't make excuses. I execute." And when it gets hard, and it will get hard, you'll have something most people don't. You'll have proof, not stories, not theories. Proof that you've done hard things. Proof that you've stayed consistent. Proof that when you say, "I don't quit," you mean it. That's what makes you unbreakable. That's what makes you unstoppable. So while they sleep, you train. While they rest, you rise. While they dream, you do. Because one day, they're going to ask you how you did it. How you got so strong, so sharp, so driven. And all you'll say is this: "I started before the world even woke up." Most people don't understand that the way you start your day is the way you command your life. It sets the tone. It decides the direction. You wake up reacting to problems, scrolling through your phone, dragging yourself into motion, and you're already behind. You've already handed your power over to the world. But when you start your day with intention, when you own that first hour with absolute control, you create momentum that doesn't just carry you. It drives you like a force of nature. That's why the 4 a.m. mindset is so lethal. Because by the time others are figuring out what mood they're in, you've already built yours. You don't stumble into excellence by accident. You generate it. You create momentum on purpose. And it doesn't take some massive event. It's simple. You move. You move when it's hard. You move when it's dark. You move when no one sees. That movement becomes motion. That motion becomes momentum. And once momentum kicks in, discipline gets easier, decisions get faster, confidence grows louder, and your day doesn't control you, you control it. People think greatness comes from one big moment, one breakthrough. No, it comes from stacking wins, small wins, silent wins. That first decision to get out of bed when it's cold. That first glass of water instead of caffeine. That first workout while your body protests. That choice to reflect instead of scroll. One after the other. And suddenly you've built rhythm. You've created a mental flow state that pushes you forward, not because life is easier, but because you're stronger. Momentum is power. When you start with intention, the rest of the day bends around your energy. You're not reacting to emails or chasing distractions. You're leading, you're decisive, you're dangerous, and people feel it, even if they don't know why. You walk different. You speak different. You show up anchored, not scattered. That's the energy that closes deals, crushes goals, and breaks limits. But you don't find it at 9 a.m. when everyone else shows up. You build it when no one else does. You build it before the world even gets dressed. Pain is the price of entry. You want growth. Then you better be ready to suffer. Because there's no strength without struggle, no discipline without discomfort. That's why most people never level up. They flinch the second it hurts. They back down when it's cold, when they're tired, when the bed feels too good to leave. But those who rise at 4 a.m., they don't run from the pain. They lean into it. They understand something the average mind refuses to accept. Discipline is supposed to hurt. That early alarm doesn't just challenge your body. It confronts your will. It asks, how bad do you want this? And in that moment, when everything in you is screaming to quit, when it would be so easy to roll over and justify comfort, you make a decision. You decide to suffer now, so you don't suffer later. You decide that your goals matter more than your excuses, that your future is worth more than your feelings. And that pain, that resistance, it's not punishment, it's payment. It's proof that you're in the fight, proof that you're not sitting on the sidelines like everyone else waiting for the perfect mood or the perfect moment. Discipline is painful, but so is regret. The difference: one builds you, the other breaks you. One strengthens your identity, builds confidence, and forces you to rise. The other eats at you, slowly, every time you say, I'll do it tomorrow. And deep down, you know you won't. So you choose. You either suffer for 5 minutes in the cold getting out of bed, or suffer for a lifetime wondering what you could have become if you had. And that choice, it's made every single morning before the sun ever rises. So when you feel that pain in your chest, that tension in your muscles, that voice in your head trying to bargain for a few more minutes of comfort, you don't pull back, you push harder, because that pain is shaping you. It's making you mentally tougher, physically stronger, and emotionally untouchable. You start to realize that what you once feared is actually your edge. You start to crave the pain, not because you enjoy it, but because you know what it means. You're growing. You're becoming someone most people don't even recognize anymore. Most people wake up and immediately hand their power over to the world. They wait for someone to tell them what to do, how to feel, what matters today. They check their phones before they check in with themselves. They react instead of lead. And that's exactly why they stay stuck. Because if you're not running your day is running you. But the 4 a.m. mindset, that flips the script. It puts you in the driver's seat. You don't wake up waiting for direction. You create it. You lead your life before anyone else has even opened their eyes. You want to be unstoppable? Then you better stop waiting for someone to come save you. You save yourself, every single morning. You rise while they rest. You execute while they scroll. And you keep showing up, not because you feel like it, but because that's who you are now. You're no longer waiting for permission, approval, applause. You're building a life you don't need to escape from. A life built on clarity, on consistency, on ownership. Because that's what this mindset is about. It's about reclaiming control. Not just of your schedule, but of your mind, of your emotions, of your direction. And that starts with the first hour of the day. You can't live like everyone else and expect to lead like no one else. So you stop conforming, you stop negotiating with excuses, and you rise with purpose. That moment when your alarm goes off, that's not just the start of a day. It's the beginning of a decision. Am I in charge, or am I just surviving? And when you make that decision every morning, when you rise with discipline, when you move with intention, you become the leader of your own life. Not someday. Today, before the world even wakes up. So here's the truth. This isn't about waking up early just to say you did it. This is about who you become in the process. It's about stepping into the quiet before the noise, facing your own weakness head-on, and choosing power over passivity every single morning. You don't just wake up at 4 a.m. to be productive. You wake up to build the kind of person no one can break. Because by the time the world opens its eyes, you've already met your demons, crushed your excuses, and made moves no one even knows about. You've built an edge they can't see, but they will feel. That's what makes you unstoppable, not the hour on the clock, but the fire in your mindset. While they sleep, you lead. While they talk, you execute. And while they wait, you win.